Well, universal health care reform, it's an idea that's been brewing in this country for years, and it was a major plank in the Clinton presidential platform. Now that lawmakers are talking about it seriously, it's time to sell the idea to the public. And Paul Milirani has been working on the story, and he joins us now with a local perspective on this very national story. Paul.
That's right, Marcus. President Clinton was in Boston on Tuesday to speak at the National Governors Conference. Among the topics of discussion, health care reform. At almost the same time, First Lady Hillary Rodham Clinton was appearing on ABC's Good Morning America talking about, you guessed it, health care reform. Well, one local doctor got to speak with Mrs. Clinton and voice her concerns about the National Health Care Reform Act.
Long ago, medical care went out of the field of being a privilege into the field of being a right, and it's correct for everybody to have it.
Dr. Susan Black has been a general practitioner for 24 years. She is adamant about the need for health care reform, so adamant that she represented the American Academy of Family Physicians on Tuesday when she and other experts in the medical field discussed health care reform with First Lady Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Mrs. Clinton, what will the administration do to ensure that medical schools train more family physicians and other generalists and bring the generalist to specialist ratio up?
You know, Doctor, that was a major part of the president's approach because...
On Good Morning America, I spoke about a moral imperative. We're the only industrialized nation in the world that doesn't offer health care to all our citizens. We're way behind. The Soviet Union, which I visited 4 years ago, was leaps and bounds ahead of us.
Black says that there are many issues that need to be addressed, such as malpractice, the balancing of the medical workforce with more general practitioners, antitrust, allowing doctors to discuss costs and cost sharing, and Black says insurance companies simply dictate what treatment doctors can and cannot prescribe.
If a doctor says a patient needs to be in the hospital, it's not for them to make more money, because the global fee that a doctor's paid for a surgical procedure is the same no matter if they stay a week or 2 weeks. They need to be there.
President Clinton's top congressional leaders announced last night plans to break from the presidential health care reform plan, saying they'll offer their own version in Congress that will be implemented over a longer period of time. Dr. Black says the Clinton plan could have worked. She says that any reform can only work if it's implemented all at once and not incrementally.
It could have worked had everybody been behind it. Most change, if you look at history, happens in increments. There's some evidence that changing health care by increments will only make things worse. That you either have to do the whole thing at once or it isn't going to work at all.
Now, Democratic leaders said they couldn't muster enough votes to pass the presidential plan. Clinton today downplayed the move and said Congress has his blessing on presenting their own version of health care reform.
And the beat goes on this one.
And the beat goes on.
All right, thanks, Paul.
Okay.
Well, when we return, Audrey Ambrosino of the Lowell National Historical Park will join us live.
And we'll take a look back at the week's top stories with the Week in Review. First, here's a quick check on the final figures from Wall Street. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed up today nearly 2.5 points to 3735.04 on a volume of 262 million shares. Checking today's local business stocks, Colonial Gas was unchanged. Raytheon closed up 5/8 point. Maycom closes up 1/4 point. Digital down 1/4 point. Textron down 3/8. Hewlett Packard closes down 1/2 point.